teams stand out to win the AFC in 2025. That would be the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Ravens. Obviously, no surprise there. No other team even has a 10% chance to do it, according to our numbers. Ravens have not made a Super Bowl since 2012. They could be inching closer to that goal, obviously, with the addition of Pro Bowl corner Jaire Alexander. That's quite a secondary there. Coach Harbaugh with more on the move.
He's excited to be here. We're excited to have him. He had been kind of behind the scenes in the works a little bit, and I know he wanted to be here, and we wanted him here. So for it to work out the way it did, made Lamar happy. I think it made everybody happy. It's just an opportunity to become a better team in that sense today. So we're really excited about it.
I think a quote that's never been said and probably will never be said in NFL history is, we got too many corners that can cover. So I think that's a great problem to have, and really excited for that addition.
So we've got all the starters now, first-round picks. Really interesting lineup, at least in name. How do you like this addition?
Man, I would say they already had Marlon Humphrey, as you just saw, Kyle Hamilton. You got Roquan Smith. And you look at their defense, it's like you can't not name somebody,
Exactly.
And so they add in Jaire, and you're like, again, all-pro guy. Like, that's what you say is going to help elevate your game. I don't understand, how we go each and every year and say, hey, Baltimore Ravens, they're going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs this year. The Buffalo Bills, they're going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs this year. But when you think about who's at the top, until they knock off Big KC at the top, they're going to keep on swinging. Now, I think they had a heck of an acquisition right there in Jaire, but let's not get it twisted. Everybody's aiming for the throne.
Yeah, they're loaded.
So Cam's point about, this is how I feel about the move. I think it looks good on paper, but Jaire Alexander hasn't been healthy the last 2 seasons. That's also part of it. So we have to wait and see if he will be healthy. But bigger than that, to me, felt like without Jaire, this Ravens team had everything it needed last season to win it all. And when I look at the Ravens, the biggest issue to me on this team is the Ravens themselves and the inability to finish. Lamar Jackson talked about that this week, that he needs to be better. I don't think we're going to see another situation where Mark Andrews drops a pass on the goal. Knock on wood, I don't think we'll see that again. But the emotional toll of all of these games where they sit back and say, how the hell did we lose that game? That at some point, I think they're getting frustrated with that.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Patrick Mahomes being motivated in Kansas City. What about Lamar?
Yes.
By the way, could have won the MVP.
Again.
Almost did.
He has talked about probably should have. Historic year.
Absolutely,
right?
crazy year.
But the 2 turnovers, right, that he had in the game that they were eliminated in. So what is holding them back? They're so talented top to bottom.
Yeah, Kimberly kind of hinted at one thing is probably the execution adjustment, right? Just play better when it matters the most. But I thought specifically last year, one area where they needed to be better in the biggest moments was the pass rush needed to be much more effective. Speaking right to Cam's heart here, if you go back and look at their biggest games of last season against the stiffest tests in terms of quarterbacks, there were 2 games that really stood out to me. Against the Buffalo Bills in the divisional round of the playoffs, and against the Eagles. So these are the late season games against elite top-tier teams. 5 pressures each of those games. That was their lowest total in any game last season. They got a lot of bodies there in that Baltimore pass rush. There is the makings of a very good rush, and maybe having a better secondary will only increase the capacity for that rush to get home. But last year in pivotal moments, too much time for Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. Quarterbacks that are that good with a little bit of time and space are going to pick apart any secondary, no matter what your credentials are.
Can I flip this a little bit and ask you, how tough is it to bring down Lamar Jackson? Like, how do you even prepare?
I don't know. I missed twice in one play.
I was not going to bring that up.
I've hit him. He ducked under me. I got up, slapped his ankles, and he still went for a first down. So
what do you say to him after that?
How do you prepare for a quarterback like that?
Yeah. I mean, just as you mentioned, the Ravens rush and how they struggled against Jalen Hurts and the Buffalo Bills quarterback and Josh Allen. You say when you're trying to eliminate the mobility. So sometimes it's not a fun pass rush. It's a run your spot and make sure he doesn't leave his spot. It's, hey, let's see how he can damage us through the air and not through the feet and the air.
Right.
You're just trying to take some of it out.
Poison,
Absolutely. And with Lamar Jackson, there's a reason why he's an MVP. He's the epitome of a dual threat quarterback.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's become such a complete passer, right? Over, 4,100 yards last year, 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And then
I'm not here for analytics. I watch the game. I'm like, okay, it's going to be a day today.
If somebody asks you the MVP frontrunner is for this year? Wouldn't you have to say Lamar? Right?
You always say so, you know?
Yeah.
Every
Or
year.
Jalen Hurts. Or
Is he your least favorite quarterback to play against Lamar? He's got to be
Absolutely
up there.
not. Absolutely not. I'd love to play against Lamar because I mean,
Yeah.
it
Because of
puts
the
you
challenge?
it puts you against a new challenge.
Yeah.
I'd love to go just rush against the offensive tackle and not have chip help and just go after a quarterback.
There you go.
Like the quarterbacks of old, the stagnant, standbys. We don't have those anymore.
Nope.
Everybody's
Different
athletic.
day.
That's what I'm saying.
We're gonna get into
We're in
that.
the era of quarterbacks.
We're going to get into your top favorite stats, right?
Yeah,
All
let's
five. We're
go.
going to rank
There's a
them
couple
5
statues
plus.
in there.
Yeah, that's coming up.
You got a couple
All right.
guys a lot.
a lot. Poor Matt Ryan. I know.
No spoilers from me.
Oh, man. All right, we are to get better. It was a struggle for the Chiefs to move the ball at times last season. They ranked 29th in the NFL in yards per rush, or 4th worst. That was also the Chiefs' worst in a season since, oh my gosh, 2011. Why do we keep going back to that year, Cam? Kansas City up their design run rate to 37% last season. That was their highest with Patrick Mahomes as the starter. Obviously, they're going to get some help back at wide receiver. Let's hope that offensive line gets straightened out. Things are looking good there. Why are they able to retool and be in contention every year?
When you say retool, like, we do know the main driving force is Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes. You add in Travis Kelce. And other than that, retool sounds a little aggressive. I'm thinking in my mind, every year we look for reasons why they won't win. And for some reason, the Chiefs only know how to win. We talk about their lowest run percentage, et cetera, 29th. I don't know if they're going to be able to beat the whoever, and yet they always do.
Right.
They always do. So until they don't, I'm a firm believer in history keeps repeating itself.
They'll be really good.
Low first-round draft picks. I mean, they seem to they scout, they do everything right. And
they say things like,
healthy.
who's the receivers? And they have Hollywood Brown, and they have all these guys that pop up late and they show up.
Coming back.
Absolutely.
Right.
But if they're going to get back to the offense that we saw a few years ago, they need to be far more explosive. We touched on this yesterday during NFL Live, but to reiterate, the Chiefs averaged their fewest yards per rush, their fewest yards per passing attempt. They had their fewest explosive runs. They had their fewest explosive passes in any year with Patrick Mahomes as their starting quarterback. How do they become more explosive? Having Rashee Rice healthy and having Xavier Worthy continue to develop, because he did come on last season, will help. I think their third-round rookie, Jalen Royals, might be able to help a little bit too. Rookies would have a little bit of a buffer getting into the zone. That being said, 2 seasons ago, he had 7 50-plus yard receiving touchdowns at Utah State. That was the most in the country and the 4th most amongst any player in the FBS over the last 20 seasons. And the 2 guys at the very top of that list, Jamison Williams, Jamar Chase, those guys, very fast, the kind of players that we know can flip a game on its head in a hurry. I think the Chiefs this year, maybe a few less grinded out drives, a few more press the easy button drives, make your defense feel good with a 7-0 lead early.
Yeah, all those close wins last year. Again, you can't afford to do that all the time. You can't afford to make that a habit. We saw what happened in the Super Bowl, Kimberly, and you were there in Kansas City last week, right? What's the vibe, Kimberly?
So I'm glad you feel especially, and you were detailing all those stats that show how much the Chiefs struggled, because I was there in Kansas City this